Today might mark our first episode with an owner of a physical product, not just a service, and I am more than a little excited to have this chat. Our guest is already three things I love: a business owner, a woman on a mission, and products that provide real, well, support, if you get what I mean. Welcome to Manage Chaos Podcast, where we give you the startup business rundown in less time than it takes for you to get to work. I'm Rachel Anderson, and today we have the wonderful Nicole Cuervo with us today to discuss her secret sauce when it comes to balancing what the customer wants with the best service possible to give. Nicole is a social entrepreneur passionate about using design thinking to develop inclusive solutions. She's the founder and CEO of Spring Rose, a startup designing adaptive, intimate apparel for unstoppable women. Under Nicole's direction, Spring Rose has won numerous awards, including an honorable mention at Fast Company's Innovation by Design Awards, which is really a big deal, for their flagship Easy On mobility bra. Nicole, I am so excited that you're here today. We are so grateful that you joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy that this worked out.
Me too. Me too. I did not know about Spring Rose before it came up, but I had been hearing about some other really interesting apparel, like women centric things. And so when I saw it, I got really excited because it's such a niche that is so important. Can you tell me a little bit about what that has looked like to build that, give our audience like a sneak peek of what is it? Like, tell us the kind of like overview.
Happy to. So it's important context that my background professionally is in human-centered design and strategy. And so I knew I wanted to start a business and I wanted it to be something with intention that would serve people. And that has been the foundation and groundwork of everything we've done at Spring Rose. His name's Spring Rose in honor of my grandmother Rose. She was an amazing woman, but had a lot of chronic pain arthritis that made it challenging for her to get dressed. I tried to buy her a better bra because it was the most challenging item and couldn't find one that was adaptive, so easy to put on, that was comfortable, size inclusive, not hideous, and took my background interviewing people, researching, and started asking as many people as I could, like, is this a problem for you? Is this something that you think should exist? Most founders will tell you they had a ton of people against them, will say everybody thought it was a dumb idea, but I persevered and I put on all this effort. I had the opposite story. Nobody told me it was a dumb idea. I have yet to have a single person be like, maybe don't do that. And that was really encouraging. Fast forward to 2020, I was going to a dual degree MBA, MS in Design Innovation program, and was doing that specifically so that I could launch the business. So I then spent 2 years doing initial research, prototypes, development, iterations on the product, one final year testing it, finding our manufacturer, making sure everything was ready for production. And then we launched officially in market September 2023. What we do at Spring Rose is we design easy on bras. So women with limited mobility can get dressed painlessly, independently, and with dignity every single morning. We serve over 60 different health conditions, everything from a temporary broken bone or shoulder injury, all the way to more permanent things like arthritis, stroke, MS, Parkinson's. Actually, it's such a large group of people. And we try to provide innovative solutions that the industry hasn't either thought to do or had the time to invest into it. So yeah, we now have, that was our first product, the Easy on Mobility Bra, and now we have 5 or 6 products.
Which is really incredible. I mean, I think you're answering such a huge need and problem. It does resonate right away. I mean, when I saw it, I immediately was like, yes. My mom had heart surgery a couple years ago, and that was one of the hardest things about that process is that she couldn't do like back things by herself. And so it makes sense to me that people were like, yes. There were no no's. They were just all yes.
Yeah.
As you've sort of grown the business in the last 5 years, right? Of time
Once I
ish.
started, yeah, about 5 years.
So in the last set of time that you've been growing the business, what do you feel like has been the secret sauce in making sure your customers are at the forefront of that product development? Because we talk a lot about how that's like such a key part, but it's different sometimes when you actually are doing it.
It's a couple of different things, but it is making sure that you're always asking them what they want instead of assuming that it is something that they want. And understanding that sometimes people can't articulate exactly what it is. They can just share their experience and then you have to extrapolate from that. So it's being willing to put yourself out there because it does feel vulnerable to have a product that you're designing for somebody else where you're not the main user for it. And hearing their feedback can feel very personal, but you have to remind yourself you're working for them. And so one of the things we do is we survey them up the wazoo. I'll call them, I'll email them. I obviously ask people for their consent before we call them, but I it's those conversations that really give you insight because, for example, somebody might have come to us because they were having shoulder surgery. But then once I get to talk to them on the phone, I learned that they also have these three other conditions and they live in this climate and they have limited means or whatever the case might be, that maybe they're coming to you for one reason, but they're a whole person. And so once you're able to understand their entire experience, you can better design for them. And we truly still do it to this day on every little thing. And not everybody replies, obviously, but we try our best as much as possible to think about them and what we know about them. And if we don't know an answer, to ask them instead of assuming.
Yeah, I love that. I like especially what you said about treating them as a whole person, even though it might fix one need or you might have connected over one need. I think that's a really interesting byproduct of where you're in the market. That's not the same as a lot of other businesses where they're like, this literally just solves this one problem, which can solve these bigger things, but it's not about the holistic person
Yeah.
necessarily.
You're also going to learn a lot about your own product once you talk to people about how they use it, because people don't read instructions oftentimes, or unfortunate. But for example, when we first designed the product, I didn't have it anywhere in my mind that this would be a product for a consumer that has scoliosis, particularly severe
Mm.
scoliosis. It just wasn't in my frame of reference. It wasn't what I was designing for to start with. Yet now, 2 years after launching into the market, scoliosis is one of the conditions we best serve. And that came about, kind of the product just fit the need in a way we hadn't intended, but I wouldn't have known that unless I had talked to these consumers that were buying it specifically for that and asked, what about it do you like, or what do you need in a product, and understanding how it fit. So for example, um, our flagship mobility bras have a Velcro front closure. It has Velcro, it has two Velcro straps in the front that attach to the band, and they're independent of each other. And that was mainly meant to be a way of being able to put on the bra one-handed. That was originally why it was designed that way. However, when you have severe and progressive scoliosis, one of the things that happens is your spine can, I don't want to say
Mhm.
contorts, but like you shrink basically, and you start losing torso. And so now your breasts and the space under your breasts sits really close to your stomach. And when you
Mhm.
eat, it might press it's going to expand. The space is going to expand and it's going to press against any bra you wear. And if you have a wire bra or any other bra, really, it's going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to dig in. Our bra lets you loosen it from the front and make micro adjustments so you can keep that comfort in your fit. But again, that wasn't something that we designed for. That's just something that we learned from our consumer by being really close and in touch with them.
I think that's so interesting. Um, how, so my background is in marketing and I've worked with a lot of these companies where we do customer conversations and, product fit and all these different things. And I've always found it to be so valuable when advising decisions and making product plans and features and all that kind of stuff. But I'm curious, how have you seen that be extra important as the founder doing it or the chief like product vision caster since so many of the people who engage with us on the podcast and stuff, they're really in that like startup world stage. So they don't have quite, they don't have breadth, they don't have layers, they don't have the things. What does that look like for you to have that direct connection?
It's really amazing. I mean, it is what keeps us going at the end of the day, because when you are selling to customers and users, then you're solving a need.
Mhm.
It can go one of both ways. So it can be people are really thrilled and happy with you, and those are the stories that propel us. It can also be people really being unhappy about it, or they're like, oh, this just didn't work for me, or it didn't fit. But you have to, one, try and dig in. So we have a feedback form for people. We reach out to customers who returned and who are unhappy because we want to understand. We know the product's not a silver bullet. It's not a one size fits all. Everybody can't love your product. That's just not realistic. But we want to understand why they didn't or why they did. Take that feedback and learn from it, whether the product needs maybe a few tweaks in production that we can do. Do we need a whole separate product to address this issue? Or also some of the feedback you just don't need to take it. Everybody's like individual in particular. And especially when you're the founder, you have to keep your sanity and keep your peace and remind yourself that you set out to build a product, a service, whatever the case might be, to solve a specific need. You want to be the best at one thing. You can't be the best at everything. And you can't promise that you will. And so if the feedback is about the quality that is ranked 10th on your list of important things, great to know, but like maybe that feedback doesn't really matter, or it's like not usable right now. Like we set out to make the most adaptive, accessible, easy to put on product. We didn't set out to do the sexiest product you've ever seen. We didn't set out to do um, the most supportive bra you've ever had in your entire life. Like it is supportive. It is also nice looking. We're not trying to make it ugly. But what we're
Mhm.
optimizing for is that independence and that dignity and that ease and that comfort. And so that's what comes first. And so it's a really good way of reminding yourself what matters most as you're getting all that feedback, because it can be overwhelming sometimes and distracting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really great way to frame too. Like these things aren't it's not that they're not important. It's that if they don't align with the value of the moment, maybe they're not as important for prioritization in that moment. Yeah. I like what you said too about feedback in context of sort of mission driven, my interpretation, but like mission driven thoughts. So as you are, well, your company specifically is extremely mission driven, which I think is so lovely, especially in this day and age of just, so many more people really want to support businesses that have real practical life values, not just monetary values or like business solving values. So if you're taking that user driven approach for getting information and making sure that your plan is aligned, your market fit is there, all these kind of important business pieces, how do you really achieve balancing the mission with either resource constraints or maybe it's like conflicting values between employees or people that are trying to come alongside you or even that customer piece which you talked about, which I really like. But like how do you really balance making sure that you're on course with the mission but also the normal chaotic problems that we really face?
Chaos is a good word for it. I'm glad that that is the name of your podcast. Yeah, it is challenging. I will say, sorry, we'll pretend to cut here. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Because
fine. Yeah.
could you like start again? Because I remember the answer to the first part, but then it kept going and now I'm like lost what the first part of the question was.
It's okay. Basically like resource constraints or
Yes.
like
Okay. I remember my answer. Resource constraint. Yes. Sorry. That is a great question because we are a small business. And that means we don't have the resources that big behemoths do, that big companies do, even though a lot of customers or users online will expect us to have those. And so it's one of two things. One is we make sure we are prioritizing what is most important to that user or customer and what can best serve them. So, for example, I originally designed two bras to start out with, and then I did a financial model. And if I launched both bras at the same time, we bankrupted. We had no cash, we died,
yeah.
the company's no longer a thing. And I had to make a choice between the two. And I felt that one was more innovative, it was more new to market, and
Hmm.
it was something that would help the widest number of people. The greatest number of people could be helped by the one product. The other product was also amazing, but it just needed to take a back seat because our purpose was to help as many people as possible. And the one of the bras would, the other one would be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more mass market and so easier to sell, but not helping as many people. And that's how we decided to launch with the Easy on Mobility bra to start with. Did I want to launch 17 bras to start with? Yes, I wanted to have every color and lace and beautiful, sexy things and a negligee. And like, do I want everything? Yes. But you have to be realistic about your constraints, your cash flow, the amount of time you have. It takes so much effort to launch a product into the world. And what we did after that is we actually looked at and surveyed our customers and understood what do they want and what do they need. And when we had started development on that second bra, we actually realized the biggest piece of feedback we were getting was that people wanted that same original bra, but they would want something with a bit more support, a bit more coverage, and we wanted a few more sizes than what we were offering at the time. So we took that first bra, we redesigned it a bit, and launched it with 2 larger cup sizes and a design that had more support and more coverage. And that was really important to our user because, again, that's what they came to us for. That's why they signed up for emails or they purchased from us. They liked that initial flagship product. And so we listened to them and prioritized that over the completely different bra that we had originally started with. It just is, at the end of the day, truly about finances, kind of. You are a business at the end of the day. You have to stay afloat, whatever that takes. I mean, whatever within reason. Like, we have fair labor practices and other things. Like, there's things we won't compromise on to survive, but you just have to make a careful decision, like what will allow your business to fulfill its mission, but also stay afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if you see the full vision of a finished painting, you sometimes have to do one color every day. Like you just have to take time to build the vision. Okay, so we have time for one more question. I actually want to ask you like 13 more questions. One more question, and I'm going to keep it a little bit broad. We are the Managed Chaos podcast. And I think, from your perspective, I'd love to know if you were sharing one piece of advice with other founders, owners, startups that are also trying to go after that mission-driven focus. What would you tell them is like the one thing they need to master in order to manage their chaos?
I learned this recently. There's a saying my mom has been saying to me for my entire life, and I hate it. And it is, if the problem has a solution, why worry? If the problem doesn't have a solution, why worry? And I hate it. My entire life, I've really hated it. I do employ that internally now, though. We went through a whole emotional roller coaster with tariffs earlier this year, and I thought the business was almost going to be bankrupted, and I tried 17 different avenues and nothing was working, and this whole problem, and then it worked out. Like 5 days before the product got to the US, everything just like resolved itself and worked out. Because we had planned and I had talked to people and I had sought out solutions, right? It wasn't like I just sat there and hoped that it would work out.
You did the hard work.
I did the hard work. But at the end of the day, it worked out. And had it not worked out, there's nothing I could have done differently. And so ever since then, this was late May, I've had a much more like chill, like it'll be what it'll be attitude where I will try my best to fix whatever is broken or whatever is happening. But I try not to have this like doom and gloom attitude of like the world is ending. This is like, if this happens, everything's over. And so now I do internalize my mom's phrase, although she asked, she was like, oh yeah, but it's like my phrase. And I was like, yeah, but I hate when you say it because it feels very, it's not good for somebody to be like, don't be stressed when you're stressed. Like, that's not helpful.
Just don't worry.
Just don't worry. It'll work out. And like, it might not work out, but at the end of the day, there's nothing, as long as you put your best foot forward, that's all you can really do. And you can try your best. And so try not to, as much as possible, let it hurt your mental health, because that is what fuels you and keeps you going, is that internal wellness and drive. So that.
Yeah, that's really good advice, especially about the mindset. So much resilience is needed to really make.
You have to be optimistic. People ask me why I started the business, and I said love and ignorance. You kind of need that ignorance. Why would you do it if you knew otherwise?
That is perfectly said. Love and ignorance. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for all of this incredible insight and the conversation. If somebody wants to follow you, where should they go?
Springrose.co, not .com, very sadly. We're springrose.co on every social platform. That is our website. Feel free to email me if you are a listener and have any questions about your own business. I love having other founder and business owner friends. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Well, that wraps up another great episode of the Manage Chaos podcast. Are you trying to decide how many places you might want to follow us so that you never have to worry about missing an episode? Whenever or wherever you are going to listen, you can find us on your podcast platform, and we'll be waiting there for you. Follow and comment to let us know what topic you would like us to cover in the future, and you never know, you might see us there. With that, we will see you on the next episode of the Managed Chaos podcast.
Outsourcing your US tech talent shouldn't be hard. With Pobble.io, we deliver high quality teams on demand and provide huge cost savings to your business. Try it now at powell.io. Mention the amazing guys at Manage Chaos when you email us and get a free market data report. Email contact@powell.io.